Now, Dr.
Good
Monyae,
afternoon.
Dr. Monyae, the US has completed withdrawal of forces from Afghanistan after 20 years, after a 20-year war, I could say. What is expected to happen now over the next few days?
As it stands, I think there are quite a lot of unknowns. One is to what extent will the Taliban government constitute a government of national unity or a transitional government to ensure that governance is done in a manner that protects all Afghanistans. And more importantly, the question of humanitarian crisis that requires the international community aid to pour into Afghanistan, where there will be safe passages, safe havens, to ensure that those in critical needs, Afghanistanians, will indeed receive the assistance that they require. About 14 million people are said to be in a dire situation, need of food. And peace and security. To what extent are people in Afghanistan uniting around the change that is taken without United States and Western powers that have been in their country for 20 years. So there are a lot of lessons for Afghanistan as well as for the international community that the barrel of the gun cannot subjugate any nation through force. There is a need to ensure that the international community protect and respect the sovereignty of all nations.
Now, a lot of criticism obviously leveled towards President Biden, but we know that this decision was not taken lightly by his administration, but also it was a decision that was forthcoming because he had been alluding to it for many years, even before he was president. But was this the right decision for the US to leave Afghanistan?
United States and President Biden had no choice other than to exit Afghanistan. However, it's just unfortunate that he is showing signs of weaknesses. I think the biggest mistake made by President Biden is the manner and the sequencing of things. He shouldn't have allowed a situation in which the military forces exit the country before civilians. The registration of Afghanistan that helped Western nations, it took long and there wasn't any sincerity as well as seriousness on part of United States and Western powers to assist Afghanistan's people in Afghanistan who had helped them throughout the 20 years. And therefore, the disaster came that events led them to panic with events that we saw unfolding within Kabul. And therefore, it's a failure of management of the exit than the whole policy that he had, that the international community support. No one wanted the United States to remain in Afghanistan.
Then the question has then to be asked, was the US 20 years of war in Afghanistan even worth it?
Not at all. The United States itself lost almost 20 trillion that it cannot account for. Endless counts, thousands of American troops have died and other thousands that were injured. And the more tens of thousands of Afghanistan also perished and injured, and the destruction of infrastructure and suffering of people for 2 decades was unnecessary. And therefore, this imperialism posture of the United States has once again, like in Iraq, in Syria, in Libya, and in Vietnam, the United States has been humiliated and has been defeated by peasants in Afghanistan. It's a lesson for the United States going forward that it is required to work within international community, multilateral structures, and support of regional powers as well as people in any given country before it uses force on any situation.
Now, we know what happened to the people and the lives and the safety of Afghanistan's civilians when the Taliban ruled prior to this takeover by the US. Will will they be able to deal with the current situation in that country as a Taliban?
The Taliban have been trying to give the world a completely new picture and a new vision for themselves, which is different from the one before 2001 when they were in government, in which women were oppressed, women were not, and young girls not allowed to go to school, not allowed to work, and corporal punishment, beheading of people, something that is happening in Saudi Arabia as we speak. And that form of government, it seems as if they've learned a lesson, but it's a question of us all wait and see. They're promising that they've changed. They will become much more modern. They will allow freedom to be exercised by all people in Afghanistan. I think the way they're going to be accepted by international community, it will be seen how they unite the country and also allow women and all Afghanistan people to enjoy freedom in its fullest form.
Thank you so much for your time this afternoon, Doctor. We really do appreciate your analysis on that topic. That was Dr. David Monyae, the Director of the Center for Africa-China Studies.